Away from that, heavy security presence at Avenor here in Accra following bloody clashes between two factions in dispute over land. 2 persons are reportedly injured. The clash was between Avenor articulated and spare parts dealers and workers of a property developer. Favor Nunu has just returned from there, and here's his report.
Happening. Some private residents and driver association have actually engaged in a brawl of sorts. If you can see behind me, that's a vehicle that actually got bent. It's been touched by some of the men involved in the confusion. What we are told happened today is that this morning some persons came to start building or putting at some development on the land that you can see here. Now, this land is actually the center of the confusion. The land and the building thereof is said to be owned by the GPRTU Tipper Truck Union that is within Avenor here. And there's also a private developer who maintains that he has also bought the land and has rights to develop on it. The case, we understand, is in court, but the private developer or owner, we are told, was here this morning with his men to see to it that some development continues over here. And so following from that, the association and residents who claim ownership also of this space and the land decided to come in and then engage them, following from which the confusions happened. And then one thing leads to the other, they engage in a brawl.
It started yesterday. Actually, our chairman even went to police headquarters to report that they should stop them because there's injunction on the building. You understand? They invited him there.
When you say him, who do you mean?
Tahiru, the one who claimed that he bought this whole parcel of land. You understand? In front of the police yesterday, he told them that he won't stop. You understand?
And the case you're saying is before court?
It's still in court. We are going to court on the 28th.
And so the court's injunction is that no one should do anything.
Should do anything. You understand? So yesterday we said, why? So we wanted to confront them, but our chairman calls us back that he is still trying to follow the right channel. You understand? Until this morning, we saw that, yes, still working. So we say, no, we can't accept it. We have to confront them to stop.
The confusion seems to be a bit fluid, but some calm has been restored with the presence of the police. One of the factions are saying that the land behind that we can see there has an injunction placed on it, preventing everybody from going on with any form of construction. But the second group also says that the court injunction says they are allowed to proceed with any form of development.
The spare parts dealers, that is the opponents. Some of them, not all of them, some of them, there are few, not much. It is those people who came and they wanted to bring fight. They wound 2 of our guys. Now they are serious injury at hospital.
Okay. So in the morning, around what time did they come? What did the fight start?
Around 8 going to 9 o'clock. At that time that they started.
Okay.
With cutlasses, everything. We don't know why. They were bringing with fire, burning everything. Can't you see they have burned our building? All these things, it is those people who burned it. We were not allowed to burn because the place belonged to us.
I went there trying to find out what happened, and they are claiming that there's an injunction that nobody should do anything on this building, and so they are worried that someone is doing something. That's why they also came to find out what's happening.
The injunction said they shouldn't come near the building, not us.
Okay.
It is we are the plaintiff and they are the complainant. Okay. We send the case to court and the court give us permission to do anything. They are the complainant. We are the plaintiff. So the court cares them not to come here. The court give them injunction not to come, not us.
ACP George Chinebua,
yes,
also known as ACP Nana Chinebua Sasraku II.
ACP, we got information about some tension happening here. You have been on the ground. What have you ascertained so far?
Well, we're called by our control team that there was some burnings at the articulated station at Avenor. We proceeded with 2 teams of water cannons. And when we came, we realized there are some ties and parts sports car spare parts had been packed together and burnt at 3 or 4 different locations. A vehicle was also on fire, so we used our water cannons, the water in it, to be able to put off the fire. The main challenge was one that was close to an electricity pole, but we were able to put that one off. And when we went into it, it looks like there's some construction going on there, and one Alaji Tahiru is the person who is constructing it. The case has been ongoing between him and the residents, and it's been resolved at the Kaneshi police station. I think the case is in court. So today, whilst they came here to do work, the residents did not allow them to do the work, and that brought the tension and the burning of things. Both parties, the builder and the leaders of the guys who attacked, have been invited to the Kaneshi police station. The divisional commander and district commanders are here, so they will take it up from there. So far, we haven't heard of any individual who got hurt during the clashes, but we met a vehicle that was on fire. So we had to put that fire off first, and we attacked the other fires. There wasn't any much damage to property, except that there were some food vendors whose food has been spilled.
A few of the residents here say a few of their colleagues or friends have been moved to the hospital. Can you confirm this?
I can confirm that. If they went before we came in, fine. But nothing of that sort has come to our notice.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, ACP.
So that happened a while ago. Favor Nunu was on the ground. He joins me now in the studio. Favor, it's good to see you. How are you doing?
It's great.
All right. Thank God you're not bent. All right. Let's look at the situation. Give us a bit of a background to this. Is there any information you're picking up from the grounds as to what may have caused this?
Indeed. All of this dates back to sometime 2015-16.
Right.
We're understanding that there was a demolition by the former mayor, Van der Poel, in that space. Now, that land used to be a land belonging to government. No private person owned it. And so when the rains came, the floods and demolition exercises actually went on all over Accra, they were moved from that space because it was close to a drainage. But a private developer, who was one of them, called Tahiru, moved to want to take that space and get governments to allow them to renovate the space, and then all of them can operate. Before, the entire space was messed up, so Tahiru volunteered to lead the group. But later on, we understand that Tahiru engaged in some private business, and he claims to have owned or bought the space from the AMA. That we cannot independently confirm. But speaking to the residents, they tell us that Tahiru, who was their leader at the time, negotiating with government in order for the property or the land to be released to them. They are mainly spare parts dealers. They deal in articulated truck spare parts and also repairers. And if you're familiar with that space, you know that it's behind the Circle station. There's a lot of vehicles that are repaired, usually huge or heavy-duty vehicles. So they're based there. Unfortunately, the agreements that they had with Tahiru broke down. Tahiru now says... So
whose agreement with Tahiru now? Tahiru now is the leader of the...
Tahiru is the leader of the Spare Parts Association.
Okay.
Exactly. Now, he moves beyond being their leader to become someone who pursues his personal interest by beginning to say, I'll develop the land because I have paid the AMA to own this land. And you pay 70,000 cedis as rent for 5 years.
70, this is 70,000
cedis. That's I'm not sure whether it's old.
No, because
it can't be old. So let's say 70,000 old Ghana cedis or 7,000 Ghana cedis. And you pay that for 5 years. They're saying they don't have money. Before that, they were occupying that space for free. But even beyond he taking rent from them, they went to court with this issue. And according to the spare parts...
So just so we get the first bits clearly, Tahiru now begins to feel like a landlord,
Tahiru
so to speak,
now
because
he led them.
He led the negotiation.
And interesting names emerged. We will be looking forward into whether or not these things are true. But they mentioned that Tahiru engaged with the likes of Ibrahim Mahama, he engaged with Rashid Pel, the former deputy minister, also the AMA, on releasing the land back to them. Because
but that is a story they are telling
that is the story
you,
that they are telling.
And it is not something that we can independently verify at the moment.
As of now. Right. So Tahiru goes forward with all of his political links in order to get the land back to them. But after the agreements reached a certain point where they were now giving the go-ahead, he claims he's bought the land, and so they must rent it.
Okay.
The contention continued up until it went to court, and so court placed an injunction on that particular land.
Okay.
In the pictures, you realize that part of it has been built, and the other part had just a foundation on it. Now, the court says that until a case is heard, I think on the 28th of this month, nobody should engage in any form of development whatsoever.
That's what the injunction says.
That's what the injunction says. Or go near the property for any form of development whatsoever.
Okay.
But the understanding is that yesterday, Tahiru, who is the private developer and their former leader at the time, visited the site and initiated some, steps that suggested that they were going to develop the property or continue.
And that is something, that is what they are contesting.
So this morning, they realized that, well, supplies were coming through. This morning, there were men there on the ground working. So the spare parts dealers and mechanics moved there to confront him and his men who were working. And they claimed right after the confrontation, there was a clash. People came out with guns and machetes and all of that.
Where did they get the guns
It's
from,
amazing. They were making claims about knowing some persons from within who have guns. And they claim that previously, in the past month, you go there in the evenings and someone may harm you with a gun or use a machete on you. So
now let's talk about the visuals that you brought in, Favor. We've seen a number of vehicles, or I think, was it two?
There was one vehicle that was torched.
Okay, so one vehicle that was, set ablaze. Who does that vehicle belong to?
We're not able to tell who, but we understand that the person did report to the police. And so when the police came through, he did report. So he fled the police to the Kaneshie police station to go and then officially complain. So the damages can be resolved. But the claim is no one is trying to own up and say we did it. But the clashes started when the repairers went to confront the constructors or the private developer, and then they all entered into that.
At the time you were leaving, had the tensions gone down? Because I see that there are children there as well, and there obviously will be women there. So these are the people who are always affected when things like this happen. At the time you left?
Yes, at the time, many people had massed up in the space. They had not yet dispersed, but then there was also police presence. There were 2 water cannons that were stationed over there. The number of policemen wasn't that much, but it was enough because the tension had gone down.
They were
Nobody
able to deal
was
with the
fighting,
situation.
except that some of the residents claim that they fear in the evening there may be reprisals, and so they're hoping that the police can continue to remain on the ground just so that in the evening, if there is any sort of altercation, there can be some force that will be able to deal with it. So that's what we have at hand. Peace has been restored, but they are hoping that the police presence remains just so nothing happens.
But we're not sure if the police are staying overnight.
The police say they would stay until the entire space is well secured. As to what that means, I think it's up to them.
We're yet to know. We'll definitely be here to bring you updates on that as well. Favor Nuno, thank you very much for bringing us that update. And stop smiling that way. Favor Nuno there has been to Avenor, where that clash injured 2 people. I think I forgot to ask you whether or not the 2 people are responding to treatment.
Well, what we know is that the 2 people got injured, according to residents, before the police came through. And so we asked the police whether they know about it. The police is saying they are not very sure, but the 2 people who were injured, according to residents, one of them has been admitted at the Ridge Hospital. The other one, they cannot tell which hospital he's been sent to, but they're saying that these are cutlass wounds, and they are quite deep and serious.
Wow. Well, all right, we'll keep our tabs on that. We'll keep tabs on that and then bring you all the updates. Thank you very much once again, Favor. And away from clashes, by the end of today, 11 Ghanaians would have been surcharged by the Auditor General for causing financial loss to the state. Daniel Domilevo this morning announced surcharging 4 public officers for allegedly duping the state of huge sums of money. The announcement follows a Supreme Court judgment secured by pressure group Occupy Ghana for the AG to issue disallowance and surcharges in respect of all state monies found to have been expended contrary to law. At a press conference earlier, Mr. Domilevo said his office will not relent in pursuing all culprits of financial malfeasance against Ghana.
I want to be sure that this exercise does not translate into just victimizing people unduly. And for that matter, before I issue a certificate, I want them to build a complete file. And the file, normally I tell them to leave it in my office. I go through the file. When I'm satisfied, I issue the certificate. So 2 weeks ago, I issued the first batch of 4 certificates, and they are gone and served on the people. Starting from yesterday, I'm reviewing 7 more files. And before the close of day today, I'll be issuing 7 more certificates because my review shows that work done is good. And so we will have reached 11. We are going gradually. Currently, the only person issuing this certificate is the Auditor General, myself, because I want to be sure that I start on a very good note. But I told my colleagues, anybody who goes to court, I want to score 100%. When they go to court, I must be able to prove to court that here is the reason why I say charge, and the court should uphold my position instead of their position. So we are doing that, starting gradually from the Auditor General. I want to read the consequential orders, which are also very important. It said, as a sequel to our judgment just delivered, we further direct that henceforth the Auditor General shall take steps to recover the amounts unlawfully expended from the person or persons who incurred or who authorized the disallowed expenditure. So there are 2 people here, the public servant who incurred the expenditure or the one who authorized it. We are going to hold these 2 guys jointly and severally liable for the amount so wrongfully spent. Secondly, the Auditor General shall also take steps to recover the amount from the person or persons by whom the amount ought to have been brought into the accounts. So you are a revenue officer. There's some money you should have collected. You ignore it. If we identify that money, we hold you accountable. There's government asset you should have brought into the books. You ignore it. If we get to know of that, we hold you accountable. So that is also provided by the judgment. And the third one, which provides a lot of clarity, is that the Auditor General shall also take steps to recover the value of the loss or deficiency from the person or persons by whose negligence or misconduct the loss or deficiency were incurred, whether or not the person is a public servant. This is the area that was well clarified by the judgment, and I think it throws a lot of light on what we should do. Because before then, I was worried whether our mandate stopped at the public servant, and the judges said no. The issue here is public funds. So in whatever hands it is. So if you are, the advice here is you are a private sector person and you deceive government or you inflate invoices or you dupe government, we can come after you.
The Auditor General declined to mention names but said a report will be made public by the end of this year. He dismissed suggestions that his office would use the opportunity to witch hunt former public officials, but vowed that no one will be spared.
Say to my fellow Ghanaians that those who have received this certificate, we want to assure you that we are simply doing our work. It's not because we hate you more than anybody or we dislike you. No, we are simply doing our work, and be assured that other people who fall in the same category like you will also receive their certificates. We are simply doing our work without fear or favor. And we will plead with the general public to cooperate with us. Some would like to stampede us into action, to say, no, I know about this one, you have not yet handled it. Why have you not handled it? It's a gradual process, as I've just explained. It's a painstaking exercise. We can't cover all the infractions that we have so far identified in our reports within a week, within a month, maybe even within a year. It may take us a longer time. Because remember, the Supreme Court ruled that we should go back and collect the monies contrary to the Constitution. And the Constitution became operational in 1993. So we have a lot of work to do. We have to go back and do it well and make sure that it is done to the satisfactory of the Ghanaian public. When I was sworn in, I made it very clear that my allegiance is to nobody but the Constitution of Ghana. And that is exactly what we are doing and we are going to do. Let me assure you that we are not operating under political influence. We are doing a professional work. The team we have here don't have colors. If they have one, they dare not show it. We are here to only serve Mother Ghana and nobody else interests. So I pray and hope that no political influence come our way, because it will not deter us from doing our work. We are just going to do what is required of us for our mother, Ghana.
Working, of course, for our mother Ghana. Reason why I am here with you, and I hope that you stay with me through to the end.